Stories this hour, just visit our social media pages on Facebook and on Twitter. And to our very first story tonight, the leader of Niger's junta says they will return the country to civilian rule within 3 years. General Chiani, in an address on state television, gave no details on the plan, but said the principles for the transition will be decided within 30 days at a dialogue to be hosted by the junta.
The address came even as a delegation from the economic community of West African state was able to meet with the junta leader, General Abdurrahman Chiani, in the capital, Niamey. The ECOWAS delegation headed by former Nigerian head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, also met separately with ousted President Mohamed Bazoum. ECOWAS has been pursuing diplomatic ways to reverse the July 26 coup. The junta has previously refused to meet any ECOWAS delegation, and Saturday's meeting is seen as a sign that the junta is willing to negotiate. ECOWAS on Friday doubled down on its threat to use force as a last resort to restore democracy in Niger. The delegation was dispatched after ECOWAS defense chiefs met in Accra to discuss preparations for any eventual military intervention in Niger. After the meeting of the ECOWAS Chiefs of Defense Staff, the chairperson of Political Affairs, Peace and Security of the ECOWAS Commission, Ambassador Abdel Fattah Musa, disclosed that the military option was still on the table should diplomacy fail.
We are not going to war against Niger, right? That is very important to, it's a very big difference. We are not going to war against Niger. We are going to war against the CNSP junta. If they have their population at heart, they should take up our offer of the peaceful means to resolve this crisis. But when it comes to the implementation of the military option, if it happens, it is going to be surgical, it is going to be targeted.
But coup leader General Abdurrahman Chiani warned in his address that if an attack were to be undertaken against Niger, it will not be a walk in the park, as some people seem to think. Should force be resorted to, the troops will have to face thousands of civilians who have volunteered to fight any invading force. With the junta now proposing to return Niger to civilian rule within 3 years, it is now left with ECOWAS to decide whether to go along or use force to return the country to democracy. Meanwhile, the new U.S. ambassador to Niger, Kathleen Fitzgibbon, arrived in the capital, Niamey, on Saturday.
We're going to stay a while longer on this developing story. Abdul Latif Ahmed is research lead and digital news editor at News Central Television in Nigeria. Thank you, sir, for your time. We've seen ECOWAS adopt a number of diplomatic measures, including the very latest being a threat to attack Niger if it does not reinstate the ousted president. What do you make of what's happening now with the very latest coming from the junta that indeed they intend to hand over in the next 3 years, a transition that will take 3 years?
I think ECOWAS has done its own bidding at its best. The most informed military sources, have said that the options for getting the military junta out of power is there in the open. And I think because it has opened all means of.
Hello, sir. Right, we're having some difficulties with Abdul Latif's line. Let me hop onto the other line. Dr. Ken Ahosu is a senior research fellow, head of peace and security studies, and also head of PhD programs at the Legon Center for International Affairs and Diplomacy, LESIA, at the University of Ghana. Thanks, Dr. Ahosu, for your time. We know that the junta leader met the ECOWAS delegation, the first between leaders of the junta and ECOWAS. It was a good sign. Subsequently, not much of progress has been made.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on your program. As you have rightly pointed out, ECOWAS has given an ultimatum, and they have activated their forces and said what they are concerned about is the handing over of power back to the elected president. And the head of the president of Niger, Acha, or whatever he's called, has said they will be in power for 3 years and then hand over to a civilian government or transition to democracy. What I want us all to know is that the two sides are not wrong, neither are the two sides conflicting each other. Everybody has a view. I mean, the two sides, but in conflict situations, when you know the view of each other, this is now the time to mediate. This is now the time to negotiate. So I don't want us to look at it from a zero-sum situation. The concern of many in West Africa and outside West Africa have been that coup d'etats are not something that we should entertain, especially when it is enshrined in the constitution of ECOWAS that unconstitutional change of government is not acceptable. In the same vein, Nigerians or the people of Niger, they have what we call the right of self-determination. And they are the people who are in charge of their country, people who know the situation in their country. And they have come out and said there will be in power, there will be a transition. Now, the concern of us all is that we don't want a war to resolve this issue. Why don't we want a war to resolve this issue? We don't want a war to resolve this issue because the Sahel region is in a form of turmoil, it's in a form of crisis. And the only forces which are holding these militants at bay are the military. If there should be a war between ECOWAS and the military junta, and the military in Niger is destroyed or defeated, it will open the floodgates for the militants to take over the country. And it will have repercussions very seriously for the whole of the West African sub-region. This is why mediation is the way forward. Diplomacy is the way forward. So what I believe is that despite this declaration by the military junta, we shouldn't jump and throw our hands in the air and say the only way out of taking them is what? A military means or war. We have had issues in Burkina Faso. We had had issues in Mali. And it had been judged that given the special circumstance of terrorism or religious militancy that is sweeping across the region, they should be given special dispensation, at least to stable the ship before there is a transition to civilian government. So I think that we are on the right path.
Much for joining us here on News 360. Let me return to Dr. Abdul Lateef, who had some difficulty with his phone lines. So when you consider a lot of the reasons given by some of these coup leaders, be it insecurity or governance, a lot of people say most of these reasons are untenable. I mean, when you look at the situation of Burkina Faso and Mali, for instance, after the coup, what we've seen is increased insecurity and instability as well, which appears to be, getting worse even after the coup. When you consider what's happening in Niger, for instance, there's an apparent power crisis. There are reports that even food rationing has begun to take place. So there's really no basis for these coups that we see across the African continent. And what ECOWAS is trying to do is to stamp its feet and say, enough is enough. We cannot continue to countenance this level of impunity.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly what ECOWAS is saying. The fact that some military officials can just wake up and say they're taking over governance does not in any way suggest that there will be better security in the system. Don't forget, some days ago, the military was attacked and the country lost some soldiers. There's a chance that there will be an increase in the activities of insurgents because the country is now in the hands of few persons. There's also a chance that there may be mutiny or disagreement within the army, as we heard, because that was partly what was responsible for the quick return of the ECOWAS delegation. Again, the American ambassador is there. Probably somehow she may be able to deliberate with a few other diplomats in-house to, suggest way out of all of this. I mean, the fact that we can still have the ECOWAS delegation go into that country means that there are chances that issues are resolvable. Again, looking at what the junta has said about 3 years of transition and allowing political parties to have input in the next 30 days, just suggests that it's soft pedaling it, from its initial hardline stance.
Abdul Latif, thank you very much for your time and for joining us here on News 360.
Let's now focus on some politics. A Bono regional chairman of the governing New Patriotic Party, Kwame Bafo Abronye, has accused some coordinators of aspiring flag bearers of the party of indiscipline and unnecessary gossiping. According to him, it is unacceptable for certain presidential aspirant spokesperson who vigorously campaigned against him during their original election go around creating problems in the party. Kwame Bafo Abronye said after extensive consultation, he has decided not to be part of the party's upcoming Special Delegates Congress. Over 900 delegates are expected to vote during the NPP Special Delegates Conference on August 26 to reduce the number of aspirants from 10 to 5. Let's go on to the phone lines now. We're going to be speaking to Dr. Jonathan Asante-Oche. He has actually joined us via Zoom. He is a political scientist. Doc, good evening and thank you for joining us on News 360.
Good evening.
First of all, what's your take on this development, considering the party is headed to their Special Delegates Congress in a few days?
Well, let me say good evening once again to our viewers. It is quite surprising that a person like Abronye, will go down that particular aisle, because if you asked me, when it comes to character assassination, I don't think that Abronye, anyone comes before him. And so it is a bit surprising that things of that nature will make him take such a decision.
But do you think that that decision will impact the outcome of the conference in any way?
Not at all. It is just that I have grouped whatever he said, in some three, headings. I see his reason for the A and B as bordering on character assassination, which I have said already. And I said that when it comes to his political discourses in the public domain, when it comes to character assassination, no one comes before him. Then I looked at the reason C. I see the reason C borders on fraud, exploitation. And so for him, if you collapse all of these, then he doesn't need to take part. But as to whether it will affect the process, I don't think that's the case. But for me, it is a testament of division, apparent division at that particular place.
Asante-Oche, you've mentioned all of these reasons that Kwame Bafo has given, but would you say that they are legitimate enough for him to pull out of such a major event?
Well, I have not, in the public domain, I don't know which of the presidential aspirants that he supports. And if you look at the issues that is raised, then obviously he seemed not to be happy about the whole process. So opting out will mean that if he is by now a neutral person, opting out will mean nobody is going to determine which of the aspirants that he supported. But of course, I am tempted to believe that his decision to opt out does not mean that he's not going to supervise the process as a chairman of that particular region. That particular function ought to be performed by him, but not deciding to vote or taking part in the voting process. That is a private decision that we may have to respect, but I don't see how that will affect the process anyway.
Thank you, Doc, for your time on News 360 tonight. Dr. Jonathan Otre is a political scientist.
Right, Aisha. A reminder is to watch News 360. This is our major news bulletin for the day. We're streaming live on Facebook. We're also live on your DSTV channel 275. Now, at 65% complete, the second phase of the KGTM market's redevelopment may likely not meet the contractual timelines set for the project in June 2024. Work on the 10,000 capacity market stalled since January 2023 due to delay in the release of funds to contractors.
Over 400 on-site workers have been laid off following the suspension of work on the market project. Traders who were evicted from the old central market to pave way for the construction of the new market project fear the completion time for the second phase of the KJTR market redevelopment may suffer a setback.
We have observed that things have come to a halt. There is no work going on the site, as observed in the past few months. Are we to sit aloof and watch as things happen? Because we have examples. We have seen the Crowfro market coming to a standstill for years. Are we to sit down and watch as the Kumasi Central Market also comes to a standstill? Our big question is, why is there a halt in the construction of the market? We want to know.
Though traders in the old market were relocated to racecourse, the congestion there has compelled some to conduct their trading activities on the shoulders and in the middle of the road. This contributes to the intense congestion within the central business district of Kumasi. The €248 million project is expected to be completed in June 2024 to boost economic activities in Kumasi and beyond. The traders are hoping that the project will be completed as scheduled, that is by June 2024, so that they are able to move in and continue with their trading activities. And this means that congestion within the central business district will reduce. But sources within the construction firm say with the halt in work, the completion time may likely be extended. Ibrahim Abubakar, TV3 News, Kumasi.
And now, the digital age has transformed the way children learn, play, and interact with the world around them. However, with the rise in screen time becoming the new normal, concerns are mounting about its impact on children's health and development. In this report by my colleague Emmanuel Samani, we delve into the dire effects of increased screen time on children's well-being and explore experts' insight on how to strike a balance.
In an increasingly digital world where screens have become companions in classrooms, a growing concern looms over the well-being of our youngest generation. From tablets and smartphones to laptops and gaming consoles, these devices have become constant companions for children, offering instant access to information, entertainment, and social interactions. The widespread use of screens among children has led to questions about the potential health and developmental impacts. Dr. Inshrabwahine, an optometrist with the Kolubu Teaching Hospital, has witnessed a surge in children with eye-related problems.
Children are such that their eyes are still growing, right from being a baby to age 6. And so the more you use your gadgets, phones, and all these things, the person is using it at a very near distance. And so the person's eye gets used to that kind of near distance. And now refocusing to look at far becomes a problem. This is a condition called myopia. Aside myopia, it also leads to dryness.
But it doesn't end there. Excessive screen time can impact children's cognitive development, attention span, as well as academic performance.
Because they are spending a lot of time watching very highly stimulating things, it reduces their attention span when it comes to doing things that are less stimulating, like their academic work. You know, the child is watching cartoons and people are running up and down and doing all of those kind of things. Now, when you move that to a place where the child is supposed to be writing 1 plus 2, 2 plus 3, it becomes boring for the child and even reduces their IQ because they are not interested in such activities.
Dr. Azu has years of experience in clinical psychiatry and psychology.
Studies have also shown that the excessive screen time on children also affects even their language development and how their use of everyday languages and how to understand social cues. We are talking about both verbal and non-verbal communication cues and all of those things. It becomes very difficult for them to understand that.
He says that excessive screen use can lead to attention difficulties and hinder crucial social interactions. For Ifeanyi Meche with Child Rights International, the challenge lies in striking a balance between screen time and real-world experiences.
Is it in the best interest of your child to be on an iPad for 4 hours a day? The answer is no. So then what can you do to change that? So you have to institute more playtime into your relationship with your children, and you have to be intentional about that. So how much time am I spending with my child after school? How much of their day am I finding out about? How many exercises or activities am I engaging with my children in? How much playtime? Because play is very important. If you look into it, children have a right to play, and that shouldn't be something that's outside of the parent-child relationship.
While screens have proven educational benefits and can enhance learning, the excessive consumption of digital content can lead to adverse outcomes.
As technology continues to shape the modern world, it is imperative that we navigate the influence on children's lives. From digital eye strain to disrupted sleep patterns and cognitive development, the effects of increased screen time are undeniable. But by setting boundaries, encouraging physical activity as well as promoting face-to-face interactions, we can help children grow in a well-rounded and healthy way. Emmanuel Samani, TV3 News, Accra.
In many places, crossing the road is meant to be harmless. With zebra crossings, the idea is that pedestrians have a safe path to navigate through moving cars and make it safe to the other end of the road. Now, sadly, in reality, it is barely the case. My colleague Enyonam Haliga has more in the following report.
Accident rates are high in Ghana, and for many of the victims, their simple task of crossing a road was their undoing. That worrying perception is even worsened by pedestrians having to brace the dangers of motor and vehicle movement in a country where lives seldom matter. There has been a 15% reduction in accident rates per the 2023 first quarter report from the police. But there are many people living with the scars from previous crashes. Nana Hima says she was about to get married when a driver's disregard for the zebra crossing turned her world upside down.
I used to sell drinks water as a wholesaler. It has been so difficult after the accident. I was the one who got most injured. So I was rushed to the hospital. So I didn't know what happened to the driver, the mate, and other passengers.
A zebra crossing identified by its white stripes is a designated pedestrians pathway on roads. According to the Road Traffic Act 2004, Act 683, vehicles are supposed to stop immediately they see people trying to cross over to the other side of the road at a zebra crossing. Unfortunately, these important crossings have lost their significance over time. Olivia Mamle Obuaban is the vice president of the Accident Victim Support, an NGO that provides assistance for crash victims. She says there are too many tales of drivers maiming innocent victims through their blatant disregard for zebra crossings.
We are seeing very busy streets with no zebra crossing, no overhead pass, no traffic lights. So in that case, how are they supposed to cross? They seem to be highways, but these are places where people live and move on a daily basis. So how are they supposed to cross? How are they supposed to take their kids to school? Give us the zebra crossing. At least it will reduce, this accident here and there.
The situation is so pathetic that many pedestrians have developed a fear for zebra crossings.
So I was actually crossing, and one of the Tricycle drivers actually stopped, and he was trying to stop the other drivers in the other lane. And one of the Tricycle drivers actually he came behind him and then he bypassed. So I actually had to run, and he was coming. He saw me crossing, but he didn't make an attempt to stop. So it made me ask myself the question, who is responsible for ensuring drivers actually obey the zebra crossing laws?
There are those determined to do something about the disregard for zebra crossings, including Ghanaian blogger Kobiche, who has mounted the Respect Zebra Crossing campaign.
I told myself from last year that entering into 2023, one of the projects that I would love to embark or advocate about is the respect for zebra crossing in Ghana. And so I think last month I started, and it's been so phenomenal. Zebra crossing lines are supposed to stop them, but here is the case, or here lies the case that I've turned myself literally into a zebra crossing line, helping people, holding my red and green flag, helping people to cross. So I told myself that no, I need to use my platform as an influencer or a social media blogger to come to start the advocacy.
Enyonam Haliga, TV3 News, Accra.
Away from that great report there by Enyonam, operators of tricycle taxis known as Pragia and tricycle mini trucks known as Aboboya in the capital Accra have expressed disappointment at the Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council's decision to reinforce its ban on their operations on some principal streets of Accra. They fear many young people have resorted to this line of work, and if they are restricted from operating in the Central Business District, many residents in those areas will lose employment opportunities due to the current economic challenges. My colleague Godwin Asidiva has been finding out more.
21-year-old Eric Jambo is a student of the Accra Technical University and a part-time tricycle operator. He's able to transport bags of sachet water easily to homes and shops of his customers with the aid of a tricycle mini truck known as Aboboya, which was provided by his boss to make work easier.
After completing SS, me particular, there was no job for me to fall into. I've tried several government work, but because of how the country is, no money, there's no job for you. And now I've gotten someone to employ me to work with his motorbike.
He fears the reinforcement of the ban on the use of tricycles on principal streets in the Greater Accra region will cut off his only means of livelihood.
There is no parent to support and there is no money anywhere. This is what I also do to support myself. If they are going to ban this, they need to create a job that will have income.
Efo Michael is Eric's customer and speaks highly of tricycle operators.
Some people, we don't get money to take full car, and that full car too, they are using diesel. If they will not allow to pick even 200 or 100 from Medina to here, they will tell you they cannot. So Aboboya will get them, so they will go there and take 100.
Many young people in the country have resorted to this work in the face of the current economic and financial crunch. In Agboblushi, one of Ghana's biggest slums, I was met with a smoky atmosphere on a busy morning. Right at the entrance of the Agboblushi market are these tricycle operators. Mohammed Razak, 23 years, traveled to Accra from Tamale 3 years ago to work to make ends meet so he can return to school.
We are doing this one small, so that maybe in case we get money, you can go and continue the school again.
He pleaded with the authorities to punish offenders rather than imposing a blanket ban on all operators.
We are going to beg him that for let us do this thing, because some people they don't go to school or they don't know how to go and do something for. Apart from this work, they don't know how they are going to do.
Most of the workers here deal in scraps, and the tricycles are their only mode of transportation. Quite a number of them have swamped the space here waiting to be loaded with scraps to move. Abbas Fatau, an operator, wants authorities to streamline the activities and deal with offenders rather than restricting them.
If he buys something side, Aboboya you go carry and come for a house. So you know if you take taxi, you know if you take the I don't know if you go taxi inside.
Aside the Aboboya, Pragia, is also one of the tricycle business fast inundating the streets of Accra.
Well, tricycle operators, popularly known as Aboboya and Pragia, have gained popularity as it has become most comfortable and convenient mode of transportation for people in Accra. They have not only eased commuting, but also created jobs for people of various age groups in the city. Despite the benefits, the Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council has bemoaned the unregulated activities and operations of these tricycles within the Central Business District and some principal streets of Accra. This, the Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council said, has resulted in heavy traffic congestion and chaotic scenes, indiscriminate parking and flouting of traffic regulations, among others. Hence, the need to regulate the movement of these tricycles in order to create a conducive environment for businesses to thrive while ensuring the comfort of travelers.
David Mellison is a Pragia operator.
Just allow us to be doing small.
Deborah Opare is a regular passenger here. She's been patronizing the services of the tricycle taxi known as Pragia for 8 months.
I come to the market 5 times in a week and I feel comfortable patronizing the Pragia. I plead for it not to be banned.
The ban on the movement of these tricycles is in line with Regulation 128 Clause 14 of the Road Traffic Regulations 2012, which states that the licensing authority shall not register a motorcycle to carry a fare-paying passenger. The ban on Aboboya on Accra highways was first announced by the regional minister in November 2021 to curb the spate of gross indiscipline on major roads in the region. Most of the operators have taken it upon themselves to be disciplined on the roads while they work, but the fear of arrest and punishment scares them.
Godwin Asidiba, TV3 News, Accra.
A reminder to watch News 360. There's more news coming back.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint as compared to other paint brands on the market. We take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, 1 bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
You dey sleep? That's Madina.
Sentuntum say wunna ma deju me ma wonsa.
Efrema bema Daniel ba.
Ma wonsa. Sentuntum ma wasumuja ma wonsa.
That shall not slap. Having black mosquito quail. Common tontom, na empum wisie bebre, na ema wo mowa, na ema wo nhwem, na ehwam.
Having insecticide spray, sham, na sanso kumu a wotu ene omo wia nyina. Now having naphthalene balls and having perfumed insect repellent no kumwa warrior nothing just tree.
Having black mosquito quail, empum wisie bebre, and say wo hene so. Sham kama, kweno, emubu, na jumo size no. Bojuma don't shred to me no.
And a heaven spray, having naphthalene balls, ni perfumed insect repellent no kumwa mutu. Na wa nam from nothing just shanwechi.
Heaven dear, bakope. Heaven dear.
Heaven, yeah! Back up, pet.
Heaven dear,
FDA aji edrede kratoyatum.
Whenever you fly to space or take your first step as baby, Soft Care always stays with you.
New Soft Care Space Series is rooted from space technology. Keeps you dry and comfortable for 12 hours long. Offers you the most effective protection during your space journey.
Soft Care. Protect your leap.
Who no like chop money? They want chop money is here. Collect your chop money every morning at 10 a.m. by simply dialing *446# and select option 2 to play Dewa 539 chop money. Win 40 times your stake with Direct 2, 400 times your stake with Direct 3, and 20 times your stake with Direct 1. You can also pay your numbers to win big. You only pick your numbers from 1 to 39, so winning is easy. Dial *446# to play Dewa 539 chop money now. Dewa,
There are some moments that last forever because they happen only once. Like your very first day, your first day of school, your first successful bike ride. What's your child's next milestone? Auntie Mary's Gripe Mixture is here to ensure they smile through it all. Auntie Mary's Gripe Mixture has been keeping children smiling for more than a decade by relieving them from gastric pain, flatulence, minor digestive upset, and teething discomfort. Now, Auntie Mary's Gripe Mixture. Auntie Mary's Gripe Mixture is manufactured and distributed by Ernest Chemists Limited. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
You're welcome back to News 360, our major news bulletin for the day. Now, a consortium of researchers have used genetic modification to reduce mosquito populations in a controlled setting. This gene editing tool aims to reduce at least 90% malaria mortality and eliminate malaria in 28 districts by 2028. My colleague Sarah Penkra delves into the multifaceted challenges of Ghana's fight against mosquito-borne diseases.
From the notorious Anopheles mosquitoes, which transmit malaria, to the Aedes mosquitoes, which carry diseases such as dengue fever and Zika virus, Ghana is home to a diverse range of these tiny yet formidable creatures which has heightened concerns over public health. Malaria remains a top priority in Ghana's fight against mosquito-borne diseases as climate, urbanization and socio-economic factors contribute to the ideal breeding conditions for mosquitoes. Despite progress made by the country in the provision of mosquito nets to vulnerable populations, the use of advanced diagnostic tools, the availability of malaria vaccine for children, and mosquito control initiatives, reducing the disease transmission rate remains a challenge.
Within the cage, we do have males and females.
Principal investigator for Target Malaria in Ghana and senior lecturer at the Department of Animal Biology and Conservation Science at the University of Ghana, Dr. Fred Abuaji Entry is among a consortium of researchers who are currently working to develop a new tool to improve management of the disease.
We here in the University of Ghana are working with a consortium to kind of understand the role that mosquitoes play within the ecosystem, such that if you remove them from the ecosystem, what will happen to the ecosystem? So what we are doing is to try and have a fair idea of the impact of such a technology on the ecosystem, on human health, on animal health, and on water quality.
He said the malaria elimination target can be feasible if there is proper coordination between stakeholders in the implementation of innovative solutions.
There has been countries where the disease is borne by some of these mosquitoes have been eliminated, which means that it is doable here as well. Funding for research is very limited. And most of the funding that we get for research comes from the West. And so if we don't get that support, then it becomes difficult for us to research into the very diseases that affect we as a people.
Program Manager of the National Malaria Elimination Program, Dr. Kezia Mam, is certain the new tool, when developed, will improve progress made.
I know there's a lot of research going on, not just in Ghana, but across the world, on making mosquitoes sterile so that the population of malaria mosquitoes